Welcome to another episode of the Provider's Playbook. You're going to get the top secret, inside down look into the NDIS. You're going to hear why the NDIS isn't working. And then finally, we're going to tell you what battles you should be picking within this industry. Thanks for joining us, Joanna. So normally when we get started, Rach kicks us off with a game to get to know you a little bit better. Rach, have you prepared us a good game?
I have. I've been spending the morning devising some games, and I've come up with one specifically for you, Joanna.
Uh-oh. Is it another Would You Rather?
No, shut up, Chris. It's called, I think the one that I think we would get to know you the most through this particular game, and it's called Rapid Fire Q&A. Okay. So, just a few quick questions on important things for you. I think you can tell a lot about a person through these questions. So my first one is, are you a morning person or a night owl?
A night owl.
Night owl.
Night owl? Oh, you know me, 4 to 8 a.m., genius zone. I'm a morning person for sure. What's your go-to, now this is really, I want you to have a really hard think about this one. What's your go-to karaoke song?
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Not that I sing well, but, you know.
Probably some Morgan Wallen at the moment.
What's that?
Morgan Wallen, the country dude.
How does that go?
Nice try. I nearly got baited. Saw you coming a mile off. Because it's getting later in the day. Now it's, now we're working into the night owl.
Yeah, okay, cool.
What's yours?
Mine is two songs. When I'm with my family, it's You'll Never Walk Alone. So you'll never walk alone. You know the Liverpool song?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good singing.
And then when I'm with my girlfriends, it's always, you better shape up, boo, 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 because I need a man. And my heart is, you know, what? Grease Lightning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, cool. That was not as fun as I thought it would be.
Amazing.
I got it.
Thank you. Favorite holiday destination?
I haven't had a holiday for about 8 years. I reckon I'd like to go back to London.
Oh, nice. That's a long flight, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And domestically, WA.
Oh. Chris?
Depends on the context of the holiday, if you're exploring or spending time with someone.
Okay.
Like, are you going on a holiday to explore, or are you going on a holiday because you're trying to spend time with your family or your partner or whatever?
The second. Let's go with that one.
I don't know, just like somewhere down the coast or like Hunter Valley or something like that. Yeah.
Where are you going if you want to explore then?
America.
Yeah, okay.
Loved America.
Yeah, I'd love to do Europe again for sure. What's one thing you can't live without?
Coffee.
Oh.
Social media.
You are really that addicted, eh? Yeah. I just want to report you just for shits and gigs.
So I've got mates over at Facebook.
Yeah.
So if you need your accounts back.
Well, thanks, mate. You told me that now. Mine is obviously my family. I can't live without them. What's the last book you read?
I'm reading The Road to Character by David Brooks at the moment.
Okay, what's that about?
It's about developing a strong personal character and strong personal brand and being known as a person of integrity and sort of going back into the values of the 50s and 60s, not backwards like that, but just consideration and forward thinking.
Yeah, right.
Amazing.
That's so good.
Last book I read, The Maverick Approach, the 5 strategies working for NDIS providers to grow in 2024. It's an amazing book.
Wow.
You can get it. Yeah. Why are you laughing?
I've never heard of it.
Haven't you?
No.
Oh, I should have got you to write the foreword. Amazing book. You can get it inside the Provider Growth Academy.
I was going to say, there's a plug coming somewhere here.
What about you?
Yeah, mine is, I've never read anything other than personal development books. I really should diversify my reading. But my last book that I read that I really enjoyed was, it's The Who, Not the How.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about the people in your business. All right. If you were a dessert, what would you be?
Something with meringue, either lemon meringue if I'm grumpy or pavlova if I'm being nice.
Oh,
What about you?
I've got to go an apple crumble with ice cream
Why would you be an apple crumble with ice cream?
because it's delicious.
Okay.
As am I, obviously.
What dessert would I be? I know what dessert I like, but
Oh, is that not the same thing?
yeah, no, because like I'm thinking like what's like a, you know, incredibly underrated dessert. Much like me, I'm very underrated. You know, very humble. Kind
Oh
of.
my god.
Probably a fine apple.
You'd be like the 5-tier wedding cake.
I
the
would.
OTT.
Oh, yes, I would. That's what
Yes.
the question should have been. What we should have gone in a circle and done it for each other. Let's do that for the next question. We have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. All right, then I don't know if you could answer this on someone else's behalf.
All right, we'll just answer it ourselves.
Okay. What's your dream job?
A writer.
A writer. Yeah, cool. Chris?
My dream job is exactly what I do. If money didn't exist tomorrow, I would do the exact same things in the exact same ways. And race, which I've been racing again. Like, they're the two things that I would do. Like,
Yeah.
if money doesn't exist, I wouldn't even change any elements of how I work. Like, it's not even like, maybe I'd work a little bit less. Like, everything that I do, exactly what I do.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much the same, to be honest. I think I'm very fortunate to currently be able to live my purpose each and every day. I think the only thing I would change is obviously some things around what happens at government level. We might, to sort of help, better outcomes for the people that we serve, and I would just try and find new ways. I'd like to have endless amounts of money so that I wouldn't have to rely on the government funding to be able to have the kind of impact that I want to have. But I think that I definitely do what I love every day.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of what my job is supposed to be a lot of writing, which is why I like it.
Oh, yes, of course.
But I feel like my I think, am I living my purpose? And I think at the moment I am. Because I think if we're going to have policies around people with disabilities, it's better if they're people with disabilities in management positions to make those calls.
Oh, God, we have to throw away this questionnaire now. We've got to get on to the juicy stuff. Tell us what you do, Joanna. Tell us what you do, because then we can all start shooting blanks or something.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I work for the federal government in disability public policy, so I've got influence on how Australia responds to the CRPD and elements of the NDIS. I'm not under the NDIS exactly, but I'm part of those conversations.
And
It sounds vague, like here's the inside top secret word for disability care in Australia. We're about to find it out.
No, I've said about as much as I can.
And so, Joanna, I've got a question. Because we only see it from our perspective, which is providers and participant level, but you have this unique perspective where you're not only an NDIS recipient, but you also work for government. What's it like being on the government side?
It's like any job, except yours. It varies. I have days when I want to kill people, no one in particular. And I have days when I feel really accomplished. It's hard to get it. You have to learn to accept that you're not going to win every battle, but you need to know which battles you need to fight. And you need to work out how to do it strategically and operationally in a way that the government can keep doing good. So it's a balancing act.
I have a question. So
Sure.
with elections and things like that, how much does that change the inner workings of government? So the government that's in power, does that change at the administration level, or is that more like at a legislative level? Like, how much impact does the who's in power change? Because we've been through a couple of governments over the last 10 years.
I'm going to sound like a bureaucrat and say it depends. Some governments, there isn't a whole lot of difference. But the change from the previous government to the current government was quite dramatic.
Okay.
It's not dramatic like one day it's X and the next day it's Y. It's one day it's X and 6 months later it's Y, but that's still pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have obviously an overwhelming sense of frustration with how we liaise with the NDIA, right? But I guess we have not a unique perspective of the challenges or the red tape that's faced at the government level. Do you have any insight over that?
Do I have insight or control?
Insight, control, opinion, anything. I mean, if you have control, then we have to have a deeper conversation than this.
I think the red tape situation will improve, but I think it needs, and this is frustrating for those of us who are in the beginning stages of this, but we've got to think that this is a baby program. I think the red tape situation will settle down in time, but there's not a lot that we can do now. And as a participant, it's really frustrating. That's the hardest point of my life, is switching from being a participant who is frustrated to a policy person who understands why things are as messy as they are, or at least has some insight into why things are as messy as they are. But I can't snap my fingers and change everything without potentially destabilising stuff for future. So it's just, I find Friday afternoons really quite tough because I've got to switch out of work brain and into just being a person with a disability brain. And it's tough.
Yeah.
It can be tough. But can we talk about something other than work?
Yes. Let's move on to other things. So I suppose you've got an incredible journey and life story and extensive career and travel and all that kind of stuff. But are you open to sharing a little bit about your current, like a bit of your health challenges that you face and some of the things that have come up?
Sure.
Recently?
I'm in a sort of break from treatment for breast cancer. So I did surgery in October and chemo and radiation, and I've got more surgery and chemo to come. And getting diagnosed was tough because one of the things they don't tell you is that if you can't stand up to have a mammogram, they don't know what to do with you. And so you're ending up doing disability awareness training while you're terrified that something's going to kill you.
So how did they perform the mammogram?
I was sitting down on a rolling chair chair with wheel, like a chair with wheels. I'm in a chair with wheels. In an office chair with wheels.
Okay, yes.
And they were sort of pushing it in, but they were like wanting me to make sure I had two people with me in case I fell over. It's like, no, I've got decent core support. Just do the damn thing. But they didn't have a big enough room for me to put my wheelchair in the room, so I had to transfer into the chair in the hallway wearing nothing on top. Like, just, and it's things like that where I think the general public think the disability thing is solved because we've got the NDIS. It's not going to be solved until, in my opinion, until people see us around and see us needing to get medical stuff done and see us needing to get legal stuff done and see us needing to buy a house or, whatever. And hopefully the NDIS is helping get us out in public to have to deal with the general public who are like, you're the first wheelchair I've seen in 10 years or something.
It's crazy because the NDIS doesn't fix anything. What the NDIS does is it helps people to live a full life, but for us to fix things, for us to change and make impact for people with disabilities, we need to make a change at a societal level with how people are being viewed, how people are being interacted with, for better, for worse. You know what I mean? Like if I sit down on the lounge next to one of my mates and I go, hey, can you make me a piece of toast? They're going to go, no, you can make it yourself, right? Now, if you have a disability, but you're still fully capable, as a support worker, your job is not to get up and make someone a piece of toast. Your job is to support them to do it themselves, to increase that independence and see that the same way that I would talk to my brother, my mate, expect to be treated if I was to sit there and say to someone, yeah, hey, make me a piece of toast. They'd say, fucking make it yourself. You can make it yourself. I'll give you a hand to get it out of the freezer or whatever where you need that hand. But otherwise, like, why would that? And to be able to have that conversation with someone like they're a real human and not be degrading in the process is what I think is important.
And in fact, that was more or less how I was raised. Was you're just a normal person that sits down a lot.
Amazing.
Now, well, that had positives and negatives. The negatives were that I'm very reluctant to ask for help. And I'm very hard on myself. So when I got a job, I didn't have support. So I would get, but my mother started work at 8 o'clock in the morning. My father started work at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I would get up at 4 a.m. to make sure I was at work at 8 a.m. Now, I probably could have asked for a reasonable accommodation, but it didn't occur to me that that was an option for me because I'd been raised, you're normal, you just sit down a lot. That meant that I went through mainstream schooling because my mother wasn't about to accept that I'd go to a special school. I went to mainstream university, did all the mainstream things, most of it without a lot of support because I was raised to do it myself.
Do you think that you've able to achieve everything that you have in your life because you were raised and supported and seen as a normal person rather than given tokenistic supports where people have done? Do you think you would have excelled to the level that you have?
I think I've done very well. I think I might have done, I think it might have been a lot easier if I'd had just a little bit more, if I'd felt able to ask for help.
Yeah. But what if you were given a heap more supports? Do you think that that would have actually disempowered you? Because it would have taken away that...
It depends on... I mean, like anything, not all support is is created equal. I think I've done okay on what I had. What I struggle with now is things like the 2-hour carer minimum, because I don't want somebody in my space for 2 hours twice a day. Thank you very much. Like, I don't have 2 hours worth of stuff I need you to do. I understand why there's a 2-hour minimum, but it's hard for me to ask for that, because that seems like indulgent, and what I'm going to say sounds silly, but I'd rather that extra hour goes to somebody that really needs it rather than me.
Or if you needed that extra hour somewhere else. So if you needed... So, like, for a transfer and a shower and stuff like that, you need 45 minutes, but then it's a minimum 2 hours. So they sit around for, what, an hour 15?
Yeah. What I've actually gone and done, I live in an SDA, and I use the on-site supports. I don't actually have... because I was waiting, I've only just moved into this new place. I was waiting for this surgery that's coming up before I start a new team, because I've had huge trouble with team getting support workers. And I've found that just using the on-site supports is enough, because they pop in for 5 minutes, help me go to the loo, or they pop in and help me pick up my phone that I seem to drop 15 times a day. By the way, tip. Soup scoops work very well as pickup sticks.
And you know what? It's funny that you say that, you know, all of these things around the sort of the cons to being as independent as you are, because ever since the day that I've met you, Joanna, I've always been so, like, admiring of you and your strength, and you're fiercely independent and a strong woman, you know?
All of that is true,
Yeah.
but part of my challenge is self-acceptance and acceptance of help. Like, I really struggle to be a good participant.
Naughty little participant. No.
because I want to do 99.3% of my life by myself. Thank you very much.
But that doesn't make you a bad participant. Doesn't it make... to go back to my point about society, doesn't that make society wrong, just assuming that they should do something for you?
Yes,
I just think
yes. You're right. And I think that's what makes me a bit sad about Australia. I lived in the UK for 18 months, and over there, 25 years ago, it was assumed that I would want a job, want a house, want a boyfriend, and that I'd need a wheelchair and I'd need whatever, and that I was going to find a way to contribute meaningfully.
Yeah.
And
so that was
in
the UK?
That was in the UK, and that was 24 years ago. Now, I don't know what it's like now, but I don't think we're there. I don't think we've got there yet.
I don't think so either.
My concern with the NDIS, if I'm going to be blunt, is that I don't want it to become person with disabilities is still the other.
Yes, 100%.
And I am concerned that we are not doing enough to break that stigma down.
Yeah.
And instead we're becoming a income source for providers.
100%.
Does that make sense?
It does. I think that my issue with this industry, my issue with the NDIS, is the fact that all of these new providers that are coming in that have never delivered a single service hour in their life, they have never supported someone with a disability, and what they do is they look at this sector like glorified childcare, and then they do all of these. They think, oh, so I get paid $63 an hour to help them do this. And it's like, no, your job is so much more than that. Yeah. Like your story, the trajectory of someone's life is completely different when you approach it with, hey, I'm going to help this person to become independent and learn skills and capacity build versus I'm going to go and I'm going to cook their toast for them and butter it.
But also in Joanna's instance, she doesn't need any support with her capacity building, and she's already incredibly fiercely independent. What she actually needs is someone to help and support her to enhance her life and the skills that she, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I need that little light touch around enabling me to be me.
That's it. Well, you don't need someone to pick up the phone and dial it for you and do this. But if you drop it, you just need someone to pick it up for you.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything else, leave it to you.
But I've seen people who are almost, well, as independent as me, and their carer is literally standing around bored. And I think that's great, because what that means is that person is participating to the fullest extent that they can. But I don't think that's sustainable for the industry.
All right.
So we need to find a balance.
All right, I've got.
Somehow.
I want to know 3 tips then. I want to know 3 tips on how a support worker or provider can best support somebody who has the same level of independence as you. What are your top 3 tips to the support worker or provider to support someone with your level of independence?
If you don't know, should you be a provider, though? If you don't know the answer?
No, I'm like, as a support worker, because sometimes they assume. Some people assume.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. If
like,
you assume, should you be a provider? Should you be in this space if you assume that?
I mean, our role is to kind of educate, like, our whole thing is to sort of educate and elevate, right?
I think, all right, tip number 1, I don't care if you've known me for 5 minutes or 5 years, check in. Like, really check in. And be as flexible as you can. And, well, third one, find the way that you can see the participant as a person. And I don't, they sound general and they sound flippant, but I mean that if you don't have anything in common with that person as a person, that's not your client.
Yes.
Like, find a hook.
Yeah. Chris loves a hook. Okay. All right. So, and what
Crochet?
and whatever you do, might I add, is don't abbreviate your name.
No.
Yeah, what's that about? Give us a rundown.
It's silly, but when I was 12, the janitor at my school gave me a message, Mum had rung, and he wrote the name Joe. And he said, and I said, I don't spell my name with an E. And he said, that's the only way to spell Joe. and at that point, I was like, I'm never going to be Joe again. So I was Joe at high school, but I don't answer to Joe.
What's the janitor's name?
Mr.
Oh, he's got a Mr. in front of his name.
Well, that was Mr. Quinn.
Because what I was thinking is we should just abbreviate his name and him go, that's not how you spell it. Well, that's the only way to spell it, Mr. Quinn.
But you know how you have those moments, those quintessential moments in life where you're like, that's a decision.
Yeah.
That's a decision.
Yeah, cool. And so I've got a couple other questions before
Sure.
we have to wrap up. So my first one is, I know that you've had some challenges with healthcare, particularly with your recent medical treatment and living with a disability. Aside from being hoisted in the middle of the hallway whilst being topless, which is just disgusting.
No, I wasn't hoisted. I had to self-transfer.
Oh, even self-transfer. Okay, cool. No worries. What are some of the other challenges that you've had?
The healthcare profession seems to assume that because I've got an NDIS plan, I've got a bottomless pit of money and carers available 24/7. Like they decide I need a carer in half an hour and I can just find one. It's like the assumption that we've all got endless resources is stupid.
Yeah.
And the assumption that I don't have the capacity to make my own decisions.
Yes.
And I feel like I have to say I'm a university educated woman. Bite me.
Yeah.
Excuse my
100%.
language, but
Yeah.
like
I
Have you ever
think
said
the
that?
language gets a bit rougher on here than bite me, so it's all right. You're good.
Yeah, you're safe. You're safe here. Yeah, cool. Okay, my last sort of question is why is policy so important?
for me, policy is important because each generation of policy hopefully and generally makes it easier for the next generation.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep.
Profound.
Profound. I love that word.
You're about to get the most profound insight. I keep stealing all the hooks today, don't I? You had a good one before.
It doesn't solve all the problems, and it is frustrating that I can't just click my fingers and make everything perfect. But my hope is that my generation of work will mean that it's easier for the next people.
Yeah, I love that.
That's all.
I love that. All right, I think that's it. I've got
Excellent.
a
Give
really
us
good-
your
my
takeaways.
So I always do my takeaways. All right, so one of the quotes I love that you shared with us today is you're not going to win every battle, but just pick which fights you want to have. And I think that it's something that we can really take in our space too, because there's a lot of fights that we can have, but it's a big energy exchange, right?
Yeah.
So pick our battles smartly. My second one is being independent also comes with its challenges.
Sure.
Yeah. The third one is the mainstream community. For anyone listening from the mainstream population, you need to stop making assumptions about people with disabilities, and instead, if you want to figure it out, just ask.
Yes. But I'm going to edit your takeaway and say,
It's not your takeaway, it's mine.
all right. But ask, but you need to be okay with accepting no as an answer.
Ooh, all right, I'll allow it. I'll allow the edit. All right, cool.
Thank you.
Policy is about our future generations, not us, but our future generations. My second last one is don't abbreviate people's names, or I should say, for fuck's sakes, don't abbreviate people's names. And my final one is Chris and Joanna both love hooks.
There you go.
There we go.
Thanks for
Excellent.
coming in today.
Thank you for joining us. I've had a lot of fun. Hopefully you have too. And if you want some more info, click the links down below in the bio and get in touch and stay in touch. Cheers.
Thank you.